You hate being bored. The second you feel it, you reach for your phone, you swipe, you scroll, you numb it. But for 300,000 years, boredom was one of the most important survival mechanisms the human brain ever evolved. It sparked creativity, it drove exploration, it may have helped build civilization itself, and by eliminating it, we may be destroying the very thing that made us human. Look at your life right now. When was the last time you sat in a room and did absolutely nothing? Not listening to a podcast, not watching a screen, not reading a book, just existing. For modern humans, this concept is terrifying. We treat boredom like a disease, a symptom of wasted time. The moment a lull appears in your day, you panic, standing in line at the grocery store, waiting for a traffic light to change, lying in bed before sleep. Your hand twitches. You reach into your pocket. You pull out a glowing rectangle and you flood your visual cortex with information. You are running from the silence. You are running from your own mind. But for 300,000 years, your ancestors couldn't run. They lived in a world defined by crushing, inescapable boredom. Think about a hunter-gatherer camp on the African savanna. The hunt is over. The gathering is done. We know from anthropologists studying modern traditional groups like the Hadza or the Kung Bushmen that ancient humans only worked about 2 to 4 hours a day. That left massive, stretching voids of time. There were no screens. There were no books. There was no artificial novelty. What did they do for all those hours? They sat. They stared at the dirt. They stared at the horizon. They experienced a depth of profound, uninterrupted nothingness that would drive a modern human to the brink of insanity. Imagine sitting in the dust for 6 hours with literally nothing to do but watch the wind move through the grass. Days upon days of identical landscapes, identical routines, identical faces. If you look at the Hadza tribe today, you will see something that looks completely alien to us. You will see adults sitting in the shade for 5 hours straight, staring at the brush. They are not sleeping. They are not meditating. They are simply existing in a state of profound understimulation. And yet, every researcher who visits them notes the exact same thing. They are remarkably, infuriatingly happy. They have almost no rates of depression. They don't experience existential dread, because their brains are allowed to run the full, natural cycle of tension and release. The boredom isn't a flaw in their day. It is the mortar that holds their psychology together. The ancient brain didn't break under the weight of this silence. The brain evolved to use it. In fact, the brain demanded it. In 2001, a neurologist named Raichle made a discovery that completely changed our understanding of human consciousness. He put subjects into an fMRI machine and told them to do nothing. No tasks, no stimuli, just lie there and be bored. The scientific community assumed the brain would power down, that it would go quiet to conserve energy. The exact opposite happened. When the brain is bored, a massive, highly complex system of neurons violently lights up. Raichle called it the default mode network. This is the brain's internal autopilot, but it is not idle. When you are bored, the default mode network begins to frantically sift through your memories. It connects disparate ideas. It runs simulations. It imagines the future. It analyzes social interactions from the past week. This is where human identity is forged. When an ancient human sat by a fire doing nothing, their default mode network was working furiously. It was figuring out how to design a better spear. It was planning how to survive the coming winter. It was creating the stories, the myths, and the religions that would bind their tribe together. Boredom was the biological trigger that forced early humans to invent. It was an uncomfortable sensation, an evolutionary itch designed to push us out of apathy. Without boredom, there is no art. Without boredom, there is no innovation. Without boredom, we are just animals reacting to the immediate present. The default mode network allowed us to time travel in our own minds. But you have killed the default mode network. Over the last 15 years, we have conducted an uncontrolled global experiment on human neurology. The smartphone was not designed to be a tool. It was designed to be a perfect, frictionless dopamine delivery system. Every time you open an app, your brain receives a microdose of dopamine. It feels productive. It feels engaging. It feels like you are doing something. But it is a neurological trap. Your brain is a highly efficient, energy-saving machine. If you give it the choice between doing the hard, neurologically expensive work of turning inward via the default mode network or consuming a cheap, endless stream of external stimulation, it will choose the external stimulation every single time. Why imagine the future when a screen will show it to you? Why reflect on your own life when you can consume the lives of strangers? Neuroscientists are now seeing the terrifying consequences of this trade. When you constantly suppress the default mode network, you lose the ability to reflect. You lose the ability to consolidate your own memories. Think about how fast time seems to be passing for you lately, how the days blur together, how you feel constantly busy, but you can't remember what you actually did last week. This is not just getting older. This is a mechanical failure of the brain. By never allowing your mind to pause, digest, and archive your experiences into a coherent narrative, you are slowly eroding your autobiographical memory. You are losing your sense of self. Without the default mode network actively stitching your past to your present, your identity begins to fragment. You become a reactionary machine, only capable of responding to the next notification, the next email, the next viral outrage. You stop being the author of your own life, and you become a passive consumer of a reality built by algorithms. Algorithms designed by corporations who know exactly how your ancient biology works and who are actively weaponizing it against you to harvest your attention. And you are rewiring your nervous system to fear its own natural state. The anxiety you feel when your phone dies, the phantom vibrations in your pocket, the physical inability to just sit and look out a window on a long train ride. This is not a personality quirk. This is withdrawal. You are experiencing the biological panic of an addict who has been cut off from their supply. Your brain has literally forgotten how to be alone with itself. Furthermore, we are destroying our dopamine baselines. For hundreds of thousands of years, dopamine was a rare reward. You got a surge when you found a honeycomb, or when you successfully hunted an animal. Today, you are flooding your brain with unnatural surges of dopamine every 3 minutes. To protect itself from this toxic overload, your brain downregulates its dopamine receptors. It turns down the volume. The result? The real world starts to feel gray. Normal, slow, analog life. A conversation with a friend, a walk in the woods, eating a meal in silence, feels agonizingly understimulating. It feels depressing. We require louder, faster, more extreme stimuli just to feel a baseline level of normal. We have chemically castrated our ability to enjoy the real world. For 1,000,000 years, human beings used periods of deep, silent boredom to figure out who they were. The quiet was a mirror, a harsh, uncompromising mirror that forced you to look at your own thoughts, your own fears, and your own existence. Now, we use screens to shatter the mirror. We engineered a world without pauses. We filled every empty second with noise, color, and artificial urgency. We thought we were curing boredom. We thought we were optimizing our lives, making ourselves more productive, more connected, more informed. But we didn't cure anything. We just amputated the part of our consciousness that dreams, the part that reflects, the part that wonders. Tonight, when you lie in bed, you will feel the urge to look at your screen one last time, to check one more feed, to fill the quiet, to push back the void. But what if you didn't? What if you just lay there in the dark and let your brain do what it was built to do? You might remember what it feels like to be human, or you might find that the silence is too loud to bear.